Would you insert a chip in your brain to play video games at triple or quadruple speed? Despite how cool or frightening that may sound, that's not the only thing that Neuralink is working on. This Elon Musk company is not as well known as Tesla or SpaceX, but they sure will be if they keep making progress like this. If you aren't familiar with Neuralink, the quick few things you need to know are 1. The company will merge humans with computers by implanting computer chips into our brains. And 2. The company could help almost anyone who's paralyzed, or anyone with brain disorders like depression, dementia, or Alzheimer's disease. Hey everyone, welcome to Neura Pod, a channel about all things Neuralink. My name is Ryan Tanaka, and holy moly, did you see what Neuralink just showed us? It's one thing for them to tell us, but for them to show proof in a video like this, it makes it so much more real for the general public. It's so cool to see them make progress on this incredible tech. Here's my reaction to the video Neuralink released on their company YouTube page.
This is Pager. He's a 9-year-old macaque who had a Neuralink placed in each side of his brain about 6 weeks ago. If you look carefully, you can see that the fur on his head hasn't quite fully grown back yet.
A Neuralink on each side? Okay, great start. We have one monkey with more than one implant.
He's learned to interact with a computer for a tasty banana smoothie delivered through a straw. We can interact with the Neuralinks simply by pairing them to an iPhone.
It's really amazing how Elon and Max are able to drive the team and have them work towards simplifying everything so much. In the future, people will inevitably take Bluetooth connection to their Neuralink for granted.
The links record from more than 2,000 electrodes implanted in the regions of Pager's motor cortex that coordinate hand and arm movements. Neurons in this region modulate their activity with intended hand movement. For example, some might become more active when he moves his hand up, and others when he moves it to the right. By recording from many neurons and feeding their activity into a decoder algorithm, we are able to predict Pager's intended hand movements in real time. First, we calibrate the decoder by recording neural activity as Pager uses the joystick to move a cursor to targets presented on the screen. As he's playing this game, we're wirelessly streaming, in real time, the firing rates from thousands of neurons to a computer.
Did you notice that? Kudos to Andrew for noticing this hint that Neuralink seems to keep sharing. In this video, they're using Neuralink Studio version 8.9.0. Compare that to the intro reel at the August 2020 update event, where it appears that they showed Neuralink Studio version 4.4. This is just one small indication that the team makes progress very quickly.
Using these data, we calibrate the decoder by mathematically modeling the relationship between patterns of neural activity and the different joystick movements they produce. After only a few minutes of calibration, we can use the output from the decoder to move the cursor instead of the joystick. Pager still moves the joystick out of habit, but as you can see, it's unplugged. He's controlling the cursor entirely with decoded neural activity. Our goal is to enable a person with paralysis to use a computer or phone with their brain activity alone. Because they wouldn't be able to move a joystick, they would calibrate the decoder by imagining hand movements to targets. One of the things the Neuralinks allow Pager to do is to play his favorite video game, Pong. To control his paddle on the right side of the screen, Pager simply thinks about moving his hand up or down. We've removed the joystick altogether. Now that he's up to speed, let's increase the difficulty and see how well Pager can play with the Neuralink. As you can see, Pager is amazingly good at Mind Pong. He's focused, and he's playing entirely of his own volition. It's not magic. The reason Neuralink works is because it's recording and decoding electrical signals from the brain.
Isn't that so great? They gave the monkey a banana smoothie and a banana. And this isn't the first time Neuralinks demonstrated being able to safely implant a Neuralink into animals. In the demonstration from the summer of 2020, Elon and the team presented several healthy pigs who had functional implants.
So what you're seeing there are all 1,024 channels, and each of those dots is a spike. And this Neuralink is implanted in the region of the brain that where the snout is located, which is actually quite a large part of a pig's brain. And so when you touch go through the snout, you can see the there's a whole bunch more neurons that fire. And that sound you hear is a collection of neural spikes. So every time that the snout is touched, the Neuralink device in her head is transmitting the data that she is sensing, and we're seeing it on the screen. I think this is incredibly profound. Here you have a healthy, happy pig with an implant.
Neuralink is working towards building truly life-changing tech. This demonstration gives us a small glimpse into the future of brain-machine interfaces. By having a digital layer that connects our brains to computers, we'll be able to work with computers so much more quickly. Forget having to type on your phone. In fact, Elon just tweeted earlier today saying, quote, "First Neuralink product will enable someone with paralysis to use a smartphone with their mind faster than someone using their thumbs," unquote. Think about how amazing it is that people who are paralyzed will be able to use much of the technology that most others take for granted. Elon and the team at Neuralink are aspiring to take this even a step further. He continued on Twitter saying, quote, "Later versions will be able to shunt signals from Neuralinks in the brain to Neuralinks in body motor sensory neuron clusters, thus enabling, for example, paraplegics to walk again," unquote. The most recent blog post on the Neuralink company page includes this note. It says, "Prior research by the BrainGate Consortium have shown that neurons in the motor cortex remain directionally tuned to the movement intention even in people with paralysis," unquote. Within the past few decades, it's become known that people who are paralyzed can almost always process in their brain the movements that they want to do. The thing that prevents the person from being able to execute on those thoughts is that the connection between the brain and the limbs is broken. Specifically, the signal being sent from the brain never reaches the place it needs to go. Elon's mentioned this in the past. Being able to provide quadriplegics and paraplegics with a neural shunt from the motor cortex to where the muscles are activated could truly alter a person's life trajectory. And this isn't the only way that Neuralink can help people. Like I said before, Neuralink will also be able to help almost anyone with brain disorders. Think about how frustrating it might be to have a loved one no longer remember your name. With a Neuralink, that memory loss could become a thing of the past. Prior systems like the Utah array or deep brain stimulation were pretty effective in helping patients with disorders like Parkinson's disease. However, there's still tons of room for improvement. For example, one easy to understand improvement is simply how the device looks. Patients with the Utah array have a large device connected to their skull, and Neuralink is working on improving everything about these types of devices, including how the implant appears. Elon continued his tweeting by saying, quote, "The device is implanted flush with the skull and charges wirelessly, so you look and feel totally normal," unquote. If you liked this episode, please consider subscribing. We'd love to hit 30,000 subscribers prior to the end of April. In another week or two, we'll do another episode on more of the details of what was released today. Also, when I first started Neura Pod, I felt confident that interest in Neuralink would continue to rise over time, and that the podcast would benefit from riding that wave. Many of the things I felt prior to releasing the first episode are still true today, but there are tons of great things that I didn't expect, and for all of those things, I want to say thank you. It is incredibly fun to see support and hear from you all reaching out on Twitter, email, and Instagram, and I want to remain very accessible for a long time, so if you have anything on your mind, please don't hesitate to reach out. And just a reminder, Neura Pod receives no compensation from Neuralink and is not formally affiliated with Neuralink in any way. Thanks again for tuning in. Hope you join us again for the next episode.